All right, what's up everybody? My name's Jared Meeker and I'm here to tell you about Alfred's Guitar Practice Planner. This is a really cool new product that is for guitar teachers and guitar students. Anybody who's really working on becoming a better musician can use this. And it's a way to sort of organize your practice time so that you can get the most benefit from the time that you spend on the instrument every day. In every guitar seminar or workshop I've gone to, this is like one of the most common talked about subjects. How do you get the most out of your practice time? So basically this layout works where there's a book with great information up front about how to practice, good practice, ethics, and techniques, but then most of the book is just two facing pages, a right page and a left page, and a bunch of those blank pages for you to fill out and keep a journal of your weekly practice. All right? Now let's talk about each one of those pages separately. The left-facing page is where all your organized information is of how to practice and all that type of stuff. So it starts out with the date, then it goes through what method book that you're using, then there is a subject category, and then specific subjects that break off of that, then BPM and a calendar for you to mark in how you're doing or the time that you're spending on each subject. At the bottom, there are notes for the teacher or for the student. Now this is great because every time a student comes in, and if you're the teacher, you can immediately open this up and know what they're working on. And vice versa, if you're a student, then you can see how you're progressing week to week. The right-facing pages are where you have additional blank tab paper and standard music notation, as well as chord diagrams and scale diagrams. So this is where you have all this additional information that pertains to the lesson. Let's go over how to use this. So if I have a beginning student coming to me as a teacher, I could fill this stuff out by assigning them the amount of time, which would probably be about 40 minutes. For a beginner who's been playing about 3 months, I wouldn't want them to go much more than that. And I would probably have them work on warm-ups and some basic technique, then reading music, and that would be out of a method book and the specific pages that they're working on. And then finally, some chord strumming patterns. And that would all be written down with some extra notes about what I would want them to work on. And then on the facing page, I would write in the specific chords, some strumming patterns, maybe some of the warm-ups that I want them to work on that week. And all that stuff would be laid out very efficiently for them. And because there's so much flexibility, I can also use this for intermediate students. If an intermediate student comes in, I would probably want them to play for like an hour a day. And specifically, I would want them to work on some techniques, possibly things like hammer-ons and pull-offs, a bunch of those types of more advanced warm-ups. Then I would also want them to work on things like bar chords and some different strumming patterns. And I probably would write in some of the songs. You know, when I have intermediate students coming into me, they have their favorite bands, and I just listen to those things and jot down riffs that they love to learn. I also might put down what specific reading examples I would want them to work on to continue to improve. And then finally, any scale diagrams that I want them to work on to improve their ability to solo and get around the fretboard. And then finally, actually the last thing, I would maybe have them do some note recognition stuff, you know, where they would play like B, E, A, D, G, C, F on every string, something like that. This way, they're getting a ton of information out of that 1 week, and they're seeing themselves grow and get faster and better. For an advanced student, I can also use the same information. Even for myself, I could even fill out this planner for myself. And let's say an advanced student comes into me, I would put in a lot more technique for them to work on, specific metronome markings so that they could see themselves improve. I would work on a whole bunch of new scales and arpeggios, a lot of fretboard theory, and then also more advice on how to improvise and incorporate any of the ideas. Then, of course, specific pieces as well. So those are 3 different levels that can all use the same practice planner. So it's very efficient and flexible in the different ways that you can use it. So I highly suggest you guys check out Alfred's Guitar Practice Planner. Check it out at your local music store, online retailer, and at alfred.com. Thanks for watching.